Coming up today, it's episode 96 of In the Front Row with Mike Vaccaro. We hit the waves with pro surfer Tony Silvagni. Born in Pennsylvania, he moved to the North Carolina coast when he was 5 years old and fell in love with the sport of surfing, longboard surfing to be exact. Now one of the best in the world, still competing at the age of 37, he shares his story with us. Tells us about teaching surfing to Secret Service agents in Hawaii, and also tells us about his business degree that led to his surf school that he has at Carolina Beach. All that, plus we learn about Hang 10. What is it? What does it mean? He'll tell us a little bit later on. Stay with us. It's episode 96 of In the Front Row with Mike Vaccaro, featuring pro surfer Tony Silvagni. Tony, first of all, we appreciate you spending a little time with us here today. And how are the waves today? I'm sure you were in the water, and it's been a little heat wave going on here. What was the water like?
Yeah, even though that we have the heat wave going on, the surf conditions were the best and the most optimal surf conditions the past 2 days. I would say that if anybody was coming to learn to surf, these past 2 days have been perfect, glassy, and the size of the waves have been around like knee to occasionally thigh high. And surprisingly enough, I actually got to go surfing last night for my first time all summer.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, surfing is definitely in your blood, as we're about to talk about here. You moved to the area to Kure Beach in North Carolina on the coast when you were 5, right? Back in 1993. How soon were you in the water? What's your earliest recollections of being on a surfboard and in the water of the beach?
Yeah, my story was really interesting. We came from Williamsport, Pennsylvania. We drove down. We lived actually in Whitey's Motel off of Market Street that is no longer with us. It's been bulldozed. I had like breakfast and lunch there at many occasions. My parents fell in love with Kure Beach. We came down here. We found shark's teeth. We found shells. We're like, this is the place. This is the calling. So we lived off of G Avenue in Kure Beach, and we found this small little cottage. We just packed all of us in there, and we grew our, lives like down here in Kure Beach. Soon enough, I ended up meeting a friend of mine by the name of Corey Mullen, and he got me into surfing. And my brother was huge, had such a huge progression with surfing, and we had a knack for it that we just fell in love with the sport. Soon enough, I met a really good friend of mine that's no longer with us, Nick Benton, and his parents, David and Gina Benton, and they both got me into competitive surfing. My dad would always push me on a bodyboard. My mom and my father have been the most supportive parents that anybody could ask for.
And for you, it's longboards. Why longboards? What's the difference, and what attracted you to the longboard?
Well, actually, I started out shortboarding. I bought a board. It was my first surfboard ever. It was a Bill Curry. He's a legendary, renowned surfer in this area. He's a outstanding bicyclist. I would say. He worked at like two-wheeler dealer up in Wilmington. He also managed another bike shop too as well. I loved shortboarding, but my style, I felt like my style was more leading towards longboarding. I also like the family lifestyle that longboarding gives. I think shortboarding's a really fun sport too as well. But however, I just embrace more friendships, more kind of a easier going lifestyle with longboarding. I also got burned out quite a bit because I actually used to compete in 5 divisions in every surf competition. So I did bodyboarding, I did shortboarding, I did junior men longboard, I did open longboard, and so forth. So I think now that I'm like in my career with professional surfing, it's a hobby, it's a lifestyle for me. It's a great way of cross marketing with my brand. Because my name of my business is Tony Silvagni Surf School. And then it also gives me the exposure to travel, to learn more about different cultures, meet all my friends around the world that I've met. at these competitions, and I have always been a competitive person, so it's just really in my blood.
And when you started, I guess Kelly Slater, I saw was your hero, right? He was your guy, and maybe people that don't realize that he's the Michael Jordan of surfing. What was it about Kelly Slater that attracted to you to him and helped you maybe evolve and grow as a surfer yourself?
Well, I definitely didn't get his flexibility, so that's something that I'm lacking for sure. I think his food eating lifestyles are way better than mine. Um, and I would have to say, coming from the East Coast, that's what attracted to me to having him as my favorite surfer. However, um, I would always watch all the competitions live on the internet and just root for Kelly. I've only met Kelly one time ever in my entire life, just in, passing, but um, soon enough, I feel honored to say this, that I'm going to Abu Dhabi and surfing his wave pool in less than a month away.
Will he be there? We have a chance to meet him for another time.
No, not at all. But it's the third stop of the World Longboard Tour for this year. And then whoever's in the top 8 surfers on that final 24 surfers for men and female get to go compete in El Salvador and Playa Sansol. Um, Sanzol, I believe is how you pronounce it. And um, I'm just stoked because to surf in a wave pool, that's a big deal, you know?
Yeah. What do you expect there? Have you ever done that before? I mean, is I guess more regular waves than maybe you would have in the ocean, I guess.
So I actually surfed at his wave pool in California at Lemoore. But this wave pool in Abu Dhabi was just created just in the past couple of years. And um, I feel like it's a little bit of a longer wave. Um, as far as like a outsider viewer checking out the competition, they might not think that it's like, is appealing and a lot of suspense and stuff, because you already really know what's going to take place. Like, you're either going to get to the nose, you're going to get barreled, you're going to come out, you're going to do a turn. Whereas an actual wave in like just the ocean, there's just all these variables that you have to deal with: wind, current, tides, um, large surf conditions, where they can control and dictate that size of wave. So it's going to be really based on style and the, who the surfer that gets the deepest or the most critical on the nose ride. Um, and that's going to be really like how they differentiate like the best surfer.
How long did it take you? You're talking about the different elements out there. How long did it take you to really learn about that and being able to anticipate different things to be able to become a better surfer?
Well, if we're referencing towards this wave pool, I would say that I was one of the surfers that didn't have a lot of exposure or experience in the wave pool. So in my previous past experience at Lemoore, I didn't do so hot because um, it feels like the same feeling of being behind a boat and then having the water push towards the front part of the nose of the board. And I feel like if you have a certain rocker, or if it's a little windy out, or if it has a potential chance of some texture on the surface of the water, it's going to really spice up the whole competition. Um, yeah, but overall, I would just say that I just kind of thrive off of energy. I'm just one of those people that says, okay, cool, maybe I didn't get the most time practicing this summer, but I have to run a business to be able to pay bills. And so if there was somebody out there that would sponsor me and fork the bill, I'd be super happy, and I would have more exposure to practicing and being at the world's best.
Yeah, hopefully we can help you with that. We'll get this out there, and people could certainly help you out for sure. And again, I know you've got the school that we're going to talk about a little bit later on as well. But for you, you've won a number of championships. You've been all over the world. When you look back at what you've done and some of your accomplishments, what really stands out to you as a championship that you've won that really, you think put your name up there with some of the other greats in the longboards?
I would have to say like the 2011 ISA World Surfing Games. Um, Also winning over at San Clemente at Trestles at one of the world prestigious events that it was like invite only, and I won for the Surf Relic in front of my shaper. But also other things that stand out to me is, my education, like finishing at UNC Wilmington. I went to Cape Fear Community College. I graduated from there. I got my business degree. I started a business at the age of 21, and I just feel like I've fulfilled my cup, and I've really put every effort and energy into every day and commitment. Like you have no idea how long I've actually had inside of my schedule that I need to talk with Michael Vaccaro to do this podcast. And I've had it in my schedule for over a month, and I've changed the date on it for that many times. So I'm a man of my word. And so everybody that's in this community that gets to see me, they always say, Tony, we see more blue umbrellas out on the beach. And I'm like, well, you can always count on me, because I'm a man that picks up the phone, and I always commit, and I show up, and I deliver.
And we appreciate that. Hey, some of these interviews take a while, and the good ones maybe take longer, but we appreciate you sticking to it and joining us here today. Again, you've kind of been all around the world, right? In your mind, what's from your past, what's maybe one of the best places that you've had some great waves, the best waves that you've been able to ride?
I would say Papua New Guinea. That place is awesome. These people walked for miles just to come and watch us surf. And that place, I showed up, we went there, we had to take malaria medicine. We had tents that we slept in at the contest venue area. And the waves were like knee high. We're talking a foot tall at the very most. And then the next morning, you're sleeping in your tent, and you just hear this, whoo, like massive waves coming through. And to surf against some of your world's favorite surfers and show up at this contest, and then be at a barreling reef break that has, a tube for anybody that's watching this podcast, and being able to ride in those barrels is pretty surreal, and it's challenging. So
Surreal. Is it ever scary?
definitely.
Is that ever in your mind?
For sure, yeah. I would have to say that every time that I go deep in the water and try and scuba dive or snorkel, I'm such a wuss. But whenever I surf these big waves, I'm like, just don't fall.
Well, we saw, surfing in the Olympics this past year, and there was a whale there during it. Have you ever had any great, creature encounters during your surfing days?
Yeah, believe it or not, I'm out here doing a surf lesson here in Carolina Beach, and that was a pretty amazing experience to have I'm drawing a blank. They come up from Cuba. They should never migrate this far north. Gosh, it looked like an alligator, but it had the snout. Sea otter, not a sea otter. What am I trying to think?
Not a shark.
Not a shark. Let's get back to it. It'll come to me in a sec. But also, yeah, I've seen tons of great, beautiful whales and stuff, especially off the coast of Mexico. And yeah, I mean, I've seen plenty of like whales and stuff in Puerto Rico when we're out there surfing. So that's always a good thing. My girlfriend would be really mad at me for forgetting the actual animal that I saw in the water, because she's a marine bio major, and she's a sea turtle lover and everything on all of the above.
Now I can tell you went to UNCW when you bring up marine biology there. So as you said, you're a business guy though, and able to turn that into your business. You've got the school. What can you tell us about the school as well, and the website that we could show people and let people know about?
Yeah, I would have to say that My website's surfschoolnc.com, which is a really awesome uh, website. We just implemented everything on there. I've taken over a month worth of time to really integrate every single time for the best times with the tide. So when you go to my website and you click on private surf lessons and you sign up for a specific time frame for that actual day, it shows you exactly when you can sign up for that day based around the most optimal time of the tide. And as you see, we're scrolling through this. This is Fair Harbor. And what's really cool is you can book instantaneously online. And our surf instructors at our business are outstanding. They've been with us for anywhere from 6 to 8 years. For many of my instructors, I've had a couple other instructors 2 to 3 years. We really focus on the safety aspect, and we also are teaching on soft top surfboards at a reliable beach break that has a very consistent and prominent sandbars. And we do provide the rash guards. We also provide the wax, and our individual instructors for private one-on-one lessons is 1 student to 1 instructor ratio, whereas a group lesson would be 2 students to 1 instructor ratio. We do take on large groups, and we have the ability to be able to host large groups up to 30 people, if not more.
Did you go to school thinking you're going to be a business guy and this is what you're going to do? Kind of take your love of surfing and turn it into a business?
I needed to stop taking my money from my parents. I had to start sacrificing more time. And then I fell in love with it because I've been trained by some of the world's best surfers, best coaches, best mentors in my entire life. And I really didn't know what I wanted coming out of high school. I had a 4.0 GPA. I had the lowest SAT score in the state of North Carolina. I'm not proud of that. I think you get like 400 points for signing your name. I went to Cape Fear Community College, and I took the ACT, the placement test. I did really poor in the English. I surpassed out of many of the math. There was a lot of challenges in my careers, but that's the adversity that you overcome. And then so happens to be that my surf school starts to have a lot of exponential growth. I got my mom out of the bank, and we've been with each other for 16 years doing this. And I'm just so grateful for her presence and all that she puts into every effort for each day.
Has your school put out any, surfers that are competing now following in your footsteps?
Yeah, so like there's four of these surfers that I've helped grow and have come through my business to be able to teach and manage my business. Mac Landry, Callie Hertz, Gus Hertz, and Caitlin Sewell all are very avid surfers that are competing competitively. However, Callie managed my business last year. Her brother this year has managed my business. They both have done an outstanding job. Callie goes to school down in Florida, and then Gus is a very avid going to school to be a pilot and has already received his pilot's license at the age of 19 years of age.
So it's one thing to have a business, a successful business, but when you see, these kids go and have such great success beyond what you're teaching them, that's got to make you feel good and be, a point of pride for you as well, I would think.
Yeah, definitely a point of pride for sure, but it's always good to stay humble, stay modest. And then help them grow too. Like they're always going to reach out and they're going to say, hey, Tony, I've grown, surpassed your business. Now I need a recommendation for a referral for this new job that I'm applying to. And that means a lot to me that I can say some really nice, positive things about each and every one of these surf instructors. But not only if you work in just that component of the business, but there's also the chair and umbrella and the shop employees that take reservations and phone calls and really integrate that flow for the whole business.
And aside from your business, I know you do a lot of charity work. You've done some, charity surf competitions to give back to the community as well. How important is that to you, especially to give back to where, again, you basically grew up?
I've done so much in my years. I put on surfing competitions for charitable, organizations. I've also have raised over $10,000 for life-saving boards for the Carolina and Kure Beach Lifeguard Association. I've taught legally blind. I've taught high functioning nonverbal Asperger's and autism. Um, I wish I could give more and more of my time each and every day, but I've had so many more responsibilities that have come onto my plate. And it's not that I don't have that love and that drive to always go out and do a charitable thing. I'm always making donations. I'm always supporting things in our community for our lifeguards, for them to go off to the competitions. So I think really at the end of the day, I'm putting my head on the pillow and I know that I'm doing something right.
Yeah, you've made a tremendous impact in your community again, moving there when you're 5, and now look at you and what all you're doing. I know something else that you did when you were in Hawaii. You taught lessons to President Obama's Secret Service agents. Tell us about that and how that was arranged and how that went.
It was pretty crazy. I mean, my ex-girlfriend, she was working in like a pub and she got approached by these guys and they so happened to, offer that they wanted surf lessons. And we were like, she's like, I have the perfect guy for you. And at that time, I only had like some of her surfboards. They were like pink. And of course, I have these strong, muscled men coming out teaching surf lessons to them at Diamond Head and Waikiki on the island of Oahu. And they gave me these challenge coins, and I have it right over here. And yeah, that was awesome. It was definitely an experience that I'll never forget. And by the way,
What was the
going
biggest
back,
challenge with those guys?
just like being really muscular and maybe not having the most perfect board set for their height, weight, and their overall ability. But I got them up and riding. And then just to touch on something that just came to my mind, it was a manatee is what I was
The manatee.
remembering. A manatee. A manatee came up out of the water right next to us during a surf lesson. It freaked me out.
And as you said, they're always in Florida, so they're a long way. And you saw
Yeah.
that in North Carolina here. All
Yeah.
right, we're going to get to a couple terms here because I was reading. Are you regular or goofy? Can you explain those two for us?
Yeah. So I'm regular foot. That means left foot forward, right foot back. If you're goofy footed, it means your right foot's forward, your left foot's back. That's really something cool to be able to teach people. It has nothing to do with if you're right handed or left handed. Normally, if you push somebody on their back, they fall forward with their front foot. Their back foot would be their predominant back foot. And the only thing that's the difference between the two, especially when I teach surf lessons, I tell everyone because they get all worried whenever they hear that they're goofy footed. I'm like, I'm goofy looking.
There you go. So you break the ice that way. Is it better to be one or the other?
Some people would say that one's better over the other, but I think it's like, if your dad or your family member that's like teaching you or whatnot, and they try to teach you the one way whenever you're really young, that's kind of what you stick with. But my sister's pretty amazing. She's actually ambidextrous. So she writes with her right hand. She shoots pool with her left hand.
So she's regular and goofy.
Yep.
Hang 10. We always hear that as a surfing term. What does it actually mean?
Yeah, hang 10 means 10 toes over the nose of the surfboard. The only way that you can do that is staying really high up on the face of the wave. The face of the wave is just up really close to the highest point of the peak, which is right up here where the face of the wave is. You need to be always going down the line of the wave, never going straight towards the shore. And that's what your actual fin holds in place as you're riding down the line of the wave, either to the right or to the left. And it's displaced out of the back of the wave because you're staying really high up and you're able to balance on the tip of the nose of the board. And that's what helps you stabilize so your board doesn't slide out.
Is that considered a trick that gets you points in your competitions?
Yeah, and I would have to say it's like one of my favorite maneuvers, because when you hang 10, if you can get your hands and your posture really straight up and you can have a chance to be levitating, like feeling like you're flying, that's like the most beautiful style points. And being able to see that on a really big open face wave, it's one of my favorite maneuvers to do.
So how is the competition? How do you get the points overall? It's not just kind of surviving a wave and coming out. You're doing things while you're riding. Is that correct?
Yep. So the judging criteria really states like speed, power, flow, um, style is really a big emphasis. But doing the most critical part of the maneuver and the most critical part of the wave, and carrying fluidity of from one maneuver to the next. And you're judged based on the color of your jersey, not your name. Really, whenever you're out in a heat, there's 20-minute heats for some competitions. For preliminary heats, there's sometimes 25-minute heats for finals, or sometimes they bump up to 30, especially when you get into the pros. When you're a kid, it's like a free-for-all. Everyone's catching as many waves as they possibly can, and they're not catching quality waves over quantity. You can catch up to 10 waves in an amateur surf contest, and they score you on the best top 2 waves. So there's normally a total of 5 judges, where you can throw your high and your low, and you can take your 3 judges and average them together to get your median score, and so that's really cool. There's yellow flags, which mean and indicate 5 minutes left in the heat. Red flag means that the heat's over with, that there's a grace period in between the 2 heats. And yeah, it's very subjective.
Yeah.
It's, it gets tough because a lot of us do the same thing. I think at this level of the top 24 surfers in the water right now, I think it's a dance. I think it's a lot of style. So maybe I'm going to get back to some ballet and like some dancing classes here in the next couple months.
So you're still competing now? When is your next competition and where?
Yep, I'm having my next competition in Abu Dhabi, September the 27th through the 30th. I am having my worst competitive year of results. I think that a lot of it has come down to an injury that I received this year. And I think I've just made some poor mistakes in the competition, taking off on a wave that didn't really give a lot of opportunity. Being a little bit more patient in the water is going to be really critical. I'm a critic, so I love to just like focus on my hands and my style, trying to keep my hands together and really gracefully like throwing them to the side of my body. I think that's, like I told you, it's a dance. It's like the tempo to the music.
So you're what, 36, 37? Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm 37, but I'm 21 in my own mind.
Exactly. We all are, right? So
Yeah.
how long do you compete? What is, do surfers ever retire? I mean, it's something I guess you can continually do, maybe not competitively, but you can always surf.
Yeah, longboard equals longevity. Okay. And what you put in your body is what you put out. And so I think for myself, I'm not done yet. I'm really eager. I'm at ranked number 14th in the world right now. They only take the top 10 for the next year to be able to qualify on. And it's super competitive. If I don't get first in the whole entire region, if I don't qualify through this world tour, I would have to go to Pismo and Virginia Beach to surf in 2 competitions, and I would have to be number 1 in the rankings to be able to re-qualify. I've been on the world tour for 16 consecutive years,
Wow.
which is outstanding.
Yeah.
but I have to really focus on getting a really good score and a good result in this last contest to hopefully bump my ratings up, because I'd prefer to just qualify through that.
So longboard. So what we saw in the Olympics, I'm assuming that's shortboard, right? So it's kind of totally different competition. Do you ever see the longboard being part of the Olympics, or is it kind of on its own?
Yeah, so they've been trying to get longboarding to be put in the Olympics, and the goal is 2028. So the organization of the Olympic Committee has signed off on paperwork to be able to host longboarding in the 2028 Olympics, but there's no guarantee right now. It's pretty close. Let's hope that it all follows through with pursuit.
Yeah, Los Angeles, obviously a great place. Would you be involved with that somehow, some way?
Yeah, so like there's current guys on the world tour that are 40, 41, 42 years old. Um, I think like really like where my life and my calling is, you know, do I start having kids? Do I have marriage? Um, do I find a manager that will manage my business and take a huge, you know, price decrease of profit margin or whatever it is? These are the things that are all really playing in my head right now. So I don't think that I'm going to be giving up anytime soon. So hopefully everyone will remember that I'm still in the mix.
Well, it sounds like you're not the typical surfer, man. You've got this school, you've got this business, you've got a great head on your shoulders, and again, you do a lot of work in the community. You were awarded for that as well in the Wrightsville Beach Hall of Fame, right? You were inducted in there maybe a couple of years ago. What was that like to have that honor and to be recognized for what you've done while surfing with the school, but your charity work as well?
Yeah, I mean, for my community to like recognize me for those accomplishments, those will always stick with me for the rest of my life. Um, I think like a lot of things that I try to put into a reality check is that if you win a world title or you win a surfing competition, there's this big joy of excitement, but then the next day is a new day, and you can't change that at all, because it's so important to remember your roots, your family, your history, your upbringing, like the way that, people have respected you, have really supported you. And that really goes to show, like, when I got inducted into that Wrightsville Beach Hall of Fame, that was a pinnacle in my life, where I just felt like really received and appreciated. I've done a lot of things out of the goodness of my heart, but it's not always about just receiving you know uh, like compliments all the time. You do it out of your own good, and then in the long term, people will always remember those good things. And that's just kind of how I live my life with competitive surfing, with my business, with my family.
Well, we saw the website with the school. Are you on social media? How can people follow you in addition to, following the school and maybe coming out there to get some lessons?
Yeah, so we do have a surf school Instagram page. We're readily available to be able to be reached anytime. Honestly, if you ever book, like we talked about earlier with my surf school and my website, www.surfschoolnc.com. But also, my Instagram page for Tony Silvagni, you can follow that page to be able to see a lot of my travels and when I compete in competitions. I've been really bad about posting and stuff on there because I'm always on my phone on a regular basis. I found out just the other day that I experience 8 hours of screen time in a day. That is ridiculous. I don't have Snapchat. You'll never see me on Snapchat. If it's on there on Snapchat, I'll never do it. My employees do it. If you're watching this is the best thing for you to get off of Snapchat. And yeah, something that's really unique about my business that you'll never find in any other business is that you have to be on your phone to be able to see the transactions that are coming through, to be able to delegate that task to the employee. So the generation that's coming up right now, they're like, well, dang, this is really interesting because I'm on my phone and I'm at work. But that's how we do it.
There you go. There you go. Technology is a good thing sometimes. But Tony, this has been fun to get to know you and hear your story. And again, hear your story beyond just, what we see in the water for you. I've heard your name so much around these parts, and it's great to have a chance to meet you, sit down with you a little bit. And we wish you the best of luck. And hopefully we see you in LA in 2028.
Thank you a lot. And I appreciate it. And thanks for taking your time and fitting me in.
You got it. Well, another great episode, another great guest. Our thanks to Tony for carving out a little bit of time of his schedule to talk to us here today, share his story. Be sure to check out his website if you're in the area. Take one of those surf classes. Should be a lot of fun. As always, we thank you for watching and for listening, and invite you to like, to subscribe, and to share our podcast. Great guests we've had, great stories. We're inching toward our 100th episode. That one should be special, coming up here shortly. For J.R. Quitman, our creator, producer, and director behind the scenes, I'm Mike Piccaro. We thank you for watching. We'll see you next time for another episode of In the Front Row with Mike Piccaro. Have a great day.